Hey everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Mic'd Podcast. I'm Mike, a hairdresser of over 20 years. One of the best parts of my job is the conversations that I get to have with all of my clients. We talk about anything and everything and invite you to listen in as we get mic'd up for today's conversation. Today we have Madeline in the chair. Madeline is a girl who has tried her hands at everything from river guide to welding. We laugh our way through Maddie's stand-up comedy dreams, funny interviews, and just have a great time on this episode. Please enjoy. Welcome.
Oh, thanks. Oh, did we already start?
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Sure.
That takes the pressure off.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks
for being here.
That's how good I am.
That's
how we start.
So sneaky.
See, it just gives you you're like, oh, okay, I'm not nervous. And now I told you you're nervous again, and now you're going to be like, no.
Mike,
deer in the headlights.
You laughed and it blew right into the microphone, and my recorder was like, exceeded maximum input level. It freaked out.
If you could be more serious, I'd really appreciate it.
Okay,
this is going to go on my profile.
No, it's funny because
Here
when you laugh, it's like you make the air go straight down. You're like,
It's the beard. It's like aerodynamic
Laugh
that
like
way.
this.
One of the fun games that we play with our kids is just ask them, what is the craziest laugh that you can come up with? And then we see if we can make the other person laugh. So let's hear your...
Okay, that's actually a little too close to my own laugh.
See, but that's okay.
Let's hear yours.
See, mine, I always go for more of the approach of just like the one solid, like the... like, I don't know why. Or like, there's, you can do too many of them.
Sir, are you okay?
You sound like you're choking.
or like the Beavis and Butthead laugh, like.
See, this is the episode. We're just gonna laugh the whole time.
We're just gonna mess around. One of my best friends has face blindness. Have you guys heard of that?
What is that?
So
I'm gonna Google it.
It's like a superpower, but she can't. The way her brain works, she sees segments of a face, but like it doesn't come together as like she won't recognize someone by seeing them. She'll recognize like their voice, or even more than that, their like how they stand, their posture. But it means, and it's not. It was only like, I don't know, 2 years in that I realized, or that she said anything, because she recognizes people's mannerisms really well. And she's like, everyone has a distinct mannerism. I was like, I'm scared to know, but what's mine? And she goes, you go. She thought about it and she goes, she's like, that's you.
Like just a gasp, like
I'm so excited to tell you something that it turns into.
But that's not like what you would do when you first meet her. So it's not like you're like, you're not like, hey, like, I mean, it's
maybe.
kind of, maybe you do. I don't know.
No, but think about it. If you're about to see a friend and you're excited and you're like, oh, it's so good to see you. But instead you go, anyway. Okay. But back to laughs. My husband's, hers was like, he laughs without moving. So he goes,
No body movement.
No body movement.
He's just kind of like.
I didn't ever think about it, but the other day he laughed and I was like, oh yeah,
See,
so cute.
Those laughs that are just, nothing comes out. You're like laughing so hard, it's just like, you can't, like nothing can come out. Those I think are the ones when you can get somebody to that point in laughing. And the thing is, we don't laugh enough. So like, I feel like it's a fun exercise. Just try it. Like
just see if you can.
Well, then you just start laughing harder and harder, and then pretty soon you just can't even control yourself.
Then you hyperventilate, and that's how you know you're really a fun person.
Like go home tonight. Don't even tell your husband.
Okay.
Just go in and just start laughing and see how long it takes for him to start laughing too. You've seen those social experiments where like somebody's like.
And then the next person starts laughing.
And then somebody, like people start looking and they're like, oh,
what's so
laughing
funny?
is contagious. It's too bad that wasn't what COVID was. laughing disease, and everybody was just laughing all the time.
But then we would all be traumatized of like, don't laugh, it's dangerous.
We'd have like this serious world of don't.
Do not
anything.
smile.
Oh man, you know.
We'd have the anti-smilers. Us and them, those who enjoy laughter and those who don't.
Can you imagine? Let's just hypothetically say that COVID was laughing. You have the maskers and the unmaskers, like because there were really two distinct, different types of people.
Okay. Yep.
If it was laughing, would you have had the laughers and the non-laughers? The people that are like.
But which ones would wear the mask?
No, because you're talking you're relating the laughing and the masking.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, okay.
But you're making it sound, but you're kind of crossing them over. Like the laughing is the disease, but in this case, it should be the laughing and the masking are the comparisons.
Yep.
Yeah,
so that makes me think of the face guards, the full face guards. You know, you wear them like glasses and they cover.
Oh, like the shields.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
Okay, total side note. Get ready, buckle in.
Okay.
ADHD, here we go. The other day I couldn't think of the word for arm wrestle, and I was really trying to show someone, and then I was like, it's a muscle race. And they knew exactly what I was talking about. So, claim to fame this week.
A muscle race?
A muscle race.
I don't think if anybody tried to explain arm wrestling to me and said it was a muscle race, I think there's 1,000 other things that I would think of before arm wrestling.
Why? What else would you think of?
I mean, I would think of like something with like working out, like lifting.
Uh-huh.
I honestly, I would probably think like powerlifting or something like that.
Everyone panic, you're timed.
Muscle
A
race.
muscle race. Okay, but back to COVID laughing.
Okay.
I think if laughing were a disease, what would healthcare look like? Like, you go to the doctor.
Dude, that doctor would have the greatest job in the world.
Right? Or they're so serious that to keep people healthy, they just have to, tell them sad stories.
Dude, what would
I know.
that look like? What would a doctor, if laughing was the disease, like the biggest disease in the world, let's hypothetically say that the disease of COVID was laughing.
But then why would it, just if it's uncontrollable laugh, if the disease is you're laughing, but not because it's funny, just because you physically can't stop.
Or you laugh so hard you can no longer breathe.
There it is. That's the one. We found it. Yep.
You're like, don't laugh so hard. You'll die.
You're going to die. So everyone would have instead of telling everyone hey, I'm allergic to this is where my EpiPen is in case I have an emergency. You tell people, this is my saddest memory. You meet someone and you're like, hey, everybody, I'm glad we're going on this cruise together or whatever, but I need to be safe. So here's my deepest, darkest memory. So if I'm laughing too much, just tell everyone.
Or they have to avoid laughter altogether. I can't go to comedy clubs. Nobody can tell jokes.
Yep. So the people who are really funny get exiled.
Dude, but what would happen at a comedy club now?
It wouldn't be a comedy club anymore. Or
they'd go out of business.
Well, no, that would be the disease central. You're like, you know what, I'm already sick. Fuck it.
Well, or would a comedy club turn into we're just going to tell sad stories to keep everybody alive?
I feel like people do that at comedy clubs anyway.
So it's sad clubs.
My pet peeve with comedy clubs, or I love stand-up, but my biggest pet peeve is when people go up there to work out their trauma at the expense of the audience. They just need to get it out of their system.
Give me an example. What's the...
some of them are pretty dark. Trying to think of one that's not traumatic. But that's the thing, is it's real trauma. They talk about divorce and why their partner left them or why they left their partner. But it's you're I know you're a comedian, but this isn't funny. It just seems like you're a little bit sad right now.
Well, but don't they say, and maybe I could be wrong on this, but aren't comedians, from what I understand, a lot of them do deal with a lot of sad issues, personal issues. Like, I don't know. And comedy has helped them kind of give them a place to just let it out.
Just try. Well, no, I think I'm all on board with that. I don't know. There's like a vibe when you go up there.
Have you done it?
Yeah. And I haven't. I'm hopefully going to take the stand-up course. I have a list of stand-up stories that I'm interested in, but a lot of them end, there's no resolution. It's just like, so that's my story. And either that can be the bit where I tell stories that have an ending for me, but everyone's like, I don't get it. But I mean, yeah, so I agree. Like, if you see someone broken on the street, you could be like, you know what? You would make a great comedian.
you should be a comic.
Someone tells you something really sad, and you're like, that's enough trauma for a good bit. But imagine what therapy would be. It's more like an audition for like, don't give therapists that idea. It's too actionable.
But so you're going to take a course.
I'm taking a course, so I do improv and like go to practice twice a week, and it's really, really fun. And I'll perform. But the thing with improv is the audience is on your side because they know you're just like pulling it out of your ass in the moment.
Okay.
And so even if you come up with something mediocre, kind of funny, they're like, oh, that was genius. Do you see how quick-witted they are? And it's like, whew. Stand up. The audience knows that you've written these jokes. You've refined them. You've practiced them. You have friends that you've been like, hey, listen to my joke. And then you're finally on stage. And if it bombs, people are like, that's a reflection on you personally. Like, you took your friends suck and didn't tell you your joke was terrible. Or, I don't know, stand up for me is a lot more intimidating because people are like.
So now I want to know, like, give me one. Like, what would be like? I'm going to put you under pressure.
If you hand me my phone, I have a list of the ones that I'm like, this is good enough.
I mean, this is your time to shine right now. Like, this is it.
This is my introduction as a stand-up to the world.
Yeah, pretend like, look, you got a microphone in front of you.
It's going to be.
Pretend that we're an audience. Say,
easy.
We've all had a few drinks. We're like,
Excellent.
I think that's why they serve alcohol at.
It's compassionate.
Yeah.
It's compassion alcohol. All the drinks should be named like self-love and acceptance. Okay, let's see.
All right. This is Madeline. Madeline.
I prefer Madeline, but I've lived my whole life, or since I've known you, actually. You were the deciding factor. Just kidding. Oh. But I've introduced myself as Maddie, and every time I'm like, damn it! It's a missed opportunity, but it's okay.
So what will be your, like, what will you...
My stage name?
When you get into...
I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to use an alias because... So this is not my real introduction to the world. Because a lot of them have to do with friends and, experiences I've had with friends. Okay. And a lot of them I'm like, we're not really friends anymore. It'll be fine. But some of them are, I don't know. It's going to start off as like incognito. All right. The thing is most of these I crack myself up.
Those are the best ones.
All right. Let me read the titles and then we'll choose.
Okay.
Snowshoe date.
Snowshoe date.
Snowshoe date. Okay. Interview egg race.
That one's intriguing.
Bipolar, all the projects that I start. Let's see. Sex ed. Let's see.
I'm going to say I'm already intrigued with the interview egg race.
Oh, easy. All right.
That's one that's like, what? I just want to know. I want to know about it.
I was leaning towards that one.
Well, and right now there was this like in the news. I saw it on the news the other night. There was some like guy that did an interview, but he made a cup of coffee, and like expected the person to clean up the coffee.
Oh.
Anyway, so that's where my mind is. So interview egg race.
All right.
I just in my head, I'm going down a road, and I want to make sure that.
I want to guess real quick. What do you think the story is?
That you went to an interview.
Yep.
And the guy or lady that was interviewing you said, it'd be fun. Let's have an egg race. And let's see how steady you are. Maybe it was like for a job at like a pizza thing, or maybe it was a job. Like I'm trying to think of all the things where you need to be steady.
Yep.
A waitressing job somewhere, like.
Someone dependable that you could trust customers with. And this is their interview.
Okay.
So to preface, I'll give you the whole story. So this isn't going to be my stand-up bit. Don't judge me. You get the unrefined version.
That's okay. I want the build-up. I want the story so that when
you want to go on this journey
one
with me.
day when you are filling up Madison Square Garden.
Yep.
And you tell this joke because it is the joke.
The one.
I will be like, I was there.
Okay, well, no pressure. Glad you made it easy. If this joke isn't good, you'll never succeed in Madison Square Garden.
Whatever.
Okay. I'm going to lose my train of thought, so you got to help me with my memory a little bit.
Okay.
So take it back a couple decades. My dad worked at Sundance.
Doing what?
He did a bunch of random things. He was a server for a while. He worked in the people who do all the weddings and events.
Okay.
Those people. And it kind of sounded like the Wild West. Anyway, I was looking for a job when I was like 16. And I was like, oh, what should I do? And he's like, oh, you should work at Sundance. I was like, oh, incredible. But this is my first job. I don't want it to be nepotism. And he was like, yeah, for sure. No, of course. You got this. And so I knew it was Sundance, and I got really dressed up. I had a cashmere sweater and pearls. I'm 16. And I was like, this is what you wear to a job interview.
Cashmere sweater and pearls.
Yep.
Okay.
As one does. Huh. I'm interviewing for a rental technician in the ski shop. But I want to put my best foot forward, right?
Hey, show up for the job you want, okay?
Yep. And the job I wanted was a mid-level manager, apparently, with my outfit. But no. So I show up, and so you go into the rental shop, and then there's like two, like the saloon doors that swing in and out. You go through those, and there's a room with a bunch of machines. It's probably like 75 square feet-ish.
Okay.
Then there's a closet. In that closet, with just barely enough room to stand up and one desk, that's the manager's office. So he's sitting in the closet. But it's a small office, so I'm sitting in the other room, technically, on, like, I don't even know what, but I remember thinking, like, these are my good pants, and this has, like, rental schmutz on it. And so I remember I was like, don't be stressed, don't say anything. So anyway, there I am, feeling maybe a little dumb for how much I dressed up, but it was also like, lead with confidence, you got this. I have no qualifications, but I brought a resume.
What did your resume say?
I wish I remembered, but I think my interview will say enough that you could imagine. So it was like, oh, do you have an experience? Yeah. I work with people. I interact with people. I ask people questions all the time, and kind of along the lines with, like, are you comfortable asking people, like, what they weighed? Have they signed the waiver? I'm like, these are easy softball questions. Yes. I can ask questions. And then it gets to, well, let's talk about, your life experience. Let's get to know you a little better. And I'm like, oh, finally, these are going to be great. It's my time to shine. And he was like, do you have any leadership experience? at which point I completely blank. And I'm like, fuck. And I was like, yep, I absolutely do, and gave myself a minute to think of what, after I said yes, and then I just breathed for a minute. It's so vivid. I breathed for a minute to just give myself time to rally. And then I was like, yeah, of course. Recently, I went on a family reunion, big family, lots of people, lots of logistics. And and we actually do this great event. It's a little competitive, but it's more about team building, really. And it's kind of like the Olympics for our family.
It's a family Olympics.
It's a family Olympics. It's definitely not, and we've only done it once. But I was like, yeah, this is an event that we really look forward to. I was like, and I was put in charge of, the semifinal, and you know where this is going. And I didn't say exactly what it was for a second. So I was responsible for guiding. I was responsible for guiding people. I was responsible for guiding people and making sure people worked well together. I helped choose the teams. I didn't choose them. I wanted people to have, their autonomy, choose their own teammates, but I definitely influenced it. And I wasn't going to go into more detail, but obviously he was like, oh, what was the event? Because he's so casual and cool. He was like, oh, he's having a normal conversation. Meanwhile, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm wearing cashmere, so it'll be fine. And
wearing cashmere, it's gonna be good.
It's gonna be that's like the. So funny. I have okay, we'll come back to that. Okay. Staying on the tracks.
Okay, so he's asking you.
He's asking me what it was, and I was like, well, and I said, eggs. I was like, eggs. I don't know how I could have prefaced it worse.
You asked him, eggs?
Yeah.
Eggs.
This is after he's been like, do you have any qualifications? And I'm like, yep. Do you have any leadership experience? Yes.
Dude, you're selling it.
I'm selling it. I want to just reiterate, I'm sitting outside of a closet. He's sitting in a closet interviewing me about my qualifications. And I'm like, so eggs, right? I'm like, and I set the scene. I'm like, picture this. You're blindfolded and you have a teammate who needs to help you. And he kind of just goes like, are you saying you were in charge of the egg race? And I was like, exactly.
Exactly.
I was. And yeah, I ended up getting the job.
See?
I was going to say, I would have hired you.
Well, partially because of nepotism, because my dad knew a guy.
Whatever. He was probably like, it's the most unique interview I've ever had.
I've been like, man, she put a lot of creativity into telling me the story of the egg race.
I can't wait for her to interact with customers. So, eggs.
That's great.
So that was my first job.
It's funny with interviews. There's a guy I know. He was telling me a story about he did an interview. He went to work. He didn't know what Hot Topic was. And for those who don't know what Hot Topic is, it's this store that has all this goth, weird, dark, it's just weird. It's just
it's
an
where
odd
I shop
show.
now.
What's that?
It's where I shop.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, it's Hot Topic.
Don't know what you're talking about. Okay, sorry. Keep going.
But he showed up to that interview because he didn't know, and his parents had told him,
oh, no.
Dress for the job you want. And he showed up in a suit and a tie.
Awesome.
For an interview at Hot Topic.
Yep. How did it go?
He got the job, but he's like, I didn't fit in.
Had he worn cashmere?
Interviewing is an interesting thing, though. I hate doing interviews. I feel like it's one of those things. Obviously you want to work here.
Yep.
You're here. You handed in a resume.
Yep.
But that's enough to say, okay, I'll give you a chance. Although one time I did have somebody show up. Well, I had their mom set up the interview.
Okay.
And then when they showed up for the interview, I asked, why do you want to work here? And they said, well, I don't. My mom wants me to have a job. Hence why my mom set up the interview.
Awesome. And you promptly said...
And I said, all right, thanks for coming in. And
best of luck to you.
That interview was over real quick.
I'm glad they laid their cards on the table.
I mean, I appreciate the honesty.
Yeah, for sure.
That is something I'm looking for.
That would have been good. That would have been terrible if they didn't say that, and they did a really good job on the interview. And then go through the hiring process.
Yeah. Oh, that would have been
train
the worst.
them.
It's like, man, this person's never showing up. Well, they don't want the job.
What do people think you want to hear most of the time?
What do they think that I want to hear in an interview?
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody really has. When it comes to interviewing hairstylists, I mean, to me it's all about personality. Like, are you actually nice? Do you have a kind bone in your body?
Yeah.
Because you can teach somebody to do hair. I mean, obviously within hair, they have to have a license and they have to go through schooling or whatever. But even if their skill level isn't up to par, if they're not nice,
it doesn't
and
matter.
They're not kind, and they're not so. I personality is.
Yeah.
If you're a dead fish in the water, like, no,
meh.
This isn't the place for you.
Yep.
But I don't know. I feel like there's a job for everybody. You just have to find out where you belong, what you fit in. Whether it's stand-up comic, improv, hairdresser. Everybody has something that they can do. Like, so you do improv. What was that interview like? Or is there an interview process?
I did. So I signed up for an improv class just in Salt Lake. And I had my mom do it with me. And, which was shocking in and of itself to get to know my mom a little bit more as an adult. Like, she was making sex jokes and I was like, I want to die. Oh my God. They were really funny was the thing too. And everyone was like, man, your mom is so funny. And I'm like, I know, she's hilarious, but also, aren't you embarrassed? How is everyone here not uncomfortable?
Because that's not their mom.
Because that's not their
your
mom. It's funny now, but at the time it was not funny. It was, but anyway. So I did a class and it went well and I had a lot of fun. And then you can perform, not as a part of the troupe officially. But if you've taken a class, you get the opportunity to perform sometimes, at a bar. And I took them up on that offer, for 2 months, or maybe more than that. No, that seems right. And then they said, hey, we'd love to have you join the troupe, and join all the master classes, which is kind of the bigger part where you do a practice just with troupe members once a week. Okay. And then they'll do some bigger events and you can sign up for that. But so it wasn't an official interview process, which is really good because
you could have wore your cashmere and pearls.
I need to tell you that I still wear cashmere and pearls if I'm nervous.
Really?
Yeah. I met up with friends that I hadn't seen, and I didn't even realize it, but 10 years. And, our lives have taken such different paths, and they're both pretty fancy. And I was a little panicked. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to see them. I'm so excited. But we were on vacation and I was with my mom and I was like, Mom, can I wear your fancy coat? I just need some emotional support. She was like, yeah, of course. And I wore it and I was like, I do feel supported. But I was meeting with a therapist one time and I was doing in not great shape. Enough of not great shape that I would make a great comedian one day with all the drama.
Yeah. See, this is proving my point.
It's like a superhero origin story for every comedian ever. But anyway, I was meeting with him and was like, oh, you look nice today. Because it was the first day that I'd kind of had it, that I was just ready to get dressed up. And I was like, yeah, I'm not doing so well. And I don't know how we got there, but basically I was like, the better you look, the less people are going to ask you if you're okay. I think. Like,
okay.
If you show up looking, you're wearing something great, or you've put a lot of effort in, or you just look really good. At that point in my life, and I still think it's true, people are going to say, wow, you look great today. What have you been doing? Or, oh, where'd you get that? Whatever. But it's like a little bit of armor, because people are less likely, because you look like you're doing fine, basically. You look like you're put together. You look like you're happy. And so you look good, and people aren't going to say, hey, are you okay? Like, how's life for real?
Which is, I think that it's interesting. That's social media. Everybody puts their best face, and everybody always thinks that everybody's happy, but you really, so many people are miserable, suffering with anxiety and depression.
Mm-hmm. That's
so
kind
next
of a
time
loss.
I see you with Cashmere, I'm going to ask you.
You should be super concerned.
How are you doing?
Super, super concerned.
No, but that's a really interesting take, though, because I don't think that you're alone in that.
Right? But think about it when you're getting dressed and you're going, because I was talking with my mom about this, and I don't know how it had never come up before. I told her that story, and she's like, huh. She's like, she just brought up the point of, wait, no, I don't want to speak for her.
Yeah.
Okay, so when I'm getting ready for something, it's an interesting idea if I'm like so stressed about how I look, which I think everyone's, wants to present themselves a certain way, but it's like a different level of stress of, do I want to have the moment to reflect, do I want to look like I'm okay? Not I am okay, but am I dressing this way right now because I'm not okay? I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But so it's been interesting the last little while when I do get ready to be like, this is a good time for a check-in.
So now so obviously now that you kind of understand that about yourself, like, do you find yourself seeing other people that maybe that, and it could be family, it could be friends, that you're like, they're not themselves, like they're normally this.
Yeah.
Now they're that. So do you find yourself, it's easier to just be like, how are you? Like, truly, like, how are you doing?
Yeah, I do. But I rarely ask people that in general, because a lot of the times I'm like, I don't have the emotional capacity. Unless I'm with friends that I'm close with, like, absolutely. If I'll ask them, hey, what's going on? Are you okay? Just checking in.
I think that's a question that we need to ask more to people, especially now. But we are also worried about ourselves that we don't.
But I think it's valid to be worried about yourself. I think that it's so easy to like overextend yourself emotionally with people, like to take on, well, not everyone, but like my inclination is, someone says, oh man, I'm having a really hard time, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, great. Let me solve that for you. Like, let me support you. Even people I might not know super well, like that's my gut reaction is like, oh, you're not feeling well? I've been there. Like, I'll fix it. And so I think the idea of like, yes, people are only thinking about themselves, but also we need to give people grace that maybe like they have to. Like you have to, I think like there's narcissism and then there's appreciating putting yourself first. And I think it's a little different than like people saying like self-care.
Yeah.
But I don't know. But yeah, I think I agree. It's good. It's important to ask people that.
Okay.
But Yeah.
So then are you going to tie that into your comedy bit somehow?
Are you okay? Yeah, probably. I'll wear cashmere sometimes. I'll wear it at first, or I'll wear, my real weakness is vintage fur. I have 8 right now fur coats that I love, one of whom I love dearly. I got it at a Swiss thrift store.
Oh, no.
They're mostly, it's all like estate sales. And most of them are like a little bit falling apart, but I'm willing to deal with it. So I'll step on stage wearing one of my favorite fur coats, and then I'll be like, okay, I feel comfortable. These people think I'm funny. And then I'll take the coat off, and it'll be cashmere. And then the more comfortable I get, I'll be like, okay, finally, I can just wear cotton. And that's how you know that I'll.
So what is it about the cashmere that makes you feel?
It's tactile. That's, I need things to be, like if I'm stressed, I have to be able to touch a texture that I like or that like calms me down. I have to be able to like ground myself a little bit instead of like, spinning out and stressing. It helps me to be able to like touch something. So whether that's fur or cashmere or what else do I like? Feathers, which is a little bit less likely that I'll have a boa, but I feel better. I don't know. Do you have stuff like that where like if you're having a hard time, there you can like, it's a security blanket. It's like a little kid's security blanket.
Yeah, I think if I'm having a bad day or if I'm having, I've always been really drawn to water. Mm-hmm. So like sitting in the hot tub or, and again, I guess it's a texture thing, but water for whatever reason brings a lot of calm and peace to me. So like if I'm having a really bad day, like I will sit in the hot tub and just be for, 20, 30 minutes. And, it does help, but I think a lot of the stuff, like if you're having a bad day, it's just a matter of, getting that mindset to where it's like, you know what, the day might be bad, but tomorrow's a new day and it's not the end of the world. And really try, again, self-care. Yeah. Making sure that you understand, like you're going to be okay. Yeah. It's just, one of my favorite little quotes or sayings in life that somebody told me once is like, sometimes we have hard days and it's okay for a day to be hard. But the second that you label it bad, it's going to be bad. Yep. Hard, you can
deal with it,
overcome it, grow from it and get better. Where bad is just bad. So I don't know. I've really trained, like when I do have those days is, sit in the hot tub, chill, kind of check your mental self and be like, it's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah, this was hard.
Tomorrow's another day. Alone time to process that? Do you need to be alone to process a hard day most of the time? Or are you someone who can like be around Allie and?
No, I mean, I'll talk to Allie a little bit about it, but I would say I've always been, like I grew up in a family that we didn't really talk about emotions a lot. Mm-hmm. So I do process a lot of stuff just by myself because that's just how I was raised. That's how I was trained. As I've grown and, now have a wife and married, like, it may take me a minute to kind of get to where I'll open up and say, this is what's really bothering me, or this is where I've been, but I will eventually. And some people are really good. Like you have a family that you seem very, very close. I mean, if your mom can do improv with you and that's amazing.
Yep.
different families have different ways of sharing.
Yep.
Mine was just always kind of dealt with it
Do you like?
myself.
Has that family dynamic changed since you, like, as an adult? If you're like, oh, I need to express my emotions. Do you bring that to your family, like your parents and your siblings?
I mean, I think we're getting better at it.
Yeah.
But still, it's I don't know how to like. We're very much it's very, I don't want to say it's surface level.
Okay.
It's, walking up to somebody and being like, how are you doing?
Yeah.
If the answer is just good or bad,
Yeah.
that's where it ends. That's the end of the conversation. Okay. If it's good, good. If it's bad, that sucks.
Yeah.
But I think as we're getting older, we do try to have a more conversation. Mm-hmm. And I would say it's getting better, but it is still very much like here's the thing. If I had a really deep problem or a deep something that was really bothering me, I would go, if I wanted to really talk it out, it wouldn't be
with your family.
Yeah. Not that I don't, and I love my family. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, they're amazing. Like, my mom and dad. My mom is one of the most loving people I've ever met in my entire life. She cares about everyone. She'll do anything for anyone. Mm-hmm. My dad is very much, the leader of the family.
Yep.
But when it came to matters of the heart, it was a don't ask, don't tell. That makes sense.
That sounds hard to me, but also only because that's not how I grew up. Did it seem hard when you were growing up? Like, oh, I wish I could express my emotions, or was it just, oh, this is the norm?
No, I think it's just, I think when you're raised in whatever household, how you're raised, that's your norm. Yeah. So to me, I didn't know any different. Like I wasn't around other families that had the same, like, or you're not around people enough to really dive into their
stuff.
Like, I think that's one of the reasons, like, hairdressers are, they always say that people tell their hairdresser everything because we're the one profession that we really do connect with people. Like, I immediately get into your personal space. Like, me touching your head. Like, now if I touched below the neck, you'd be like, hold on there, Mike.
Be like, hold on, Mike. Come on.
But you immediately give me permission to be in your personal space, but then we sit and talk. And there's a connection between hairdressers and people, which is, I think, one of the reasons, maybe that's secretly why I love it so much, is because I didn't have a lot of that growing up.
So little did you know, but this is an interview of you. And you don't need Cashmere. You're doing great. Really, I might hire you.
I'm not going to lie.
Your introspection is good.
I've never worn Cashmere. I don't even know what it's like.
Me neither.
I've heard.
I've never. I've always wondered.
I still remember the episode of, was it Seinfeld?
The Cashmere.
Where he bought the Cashmere but had the dot, and he was like, I don't care. And I was just like, it just looks like a
wool
sweater. Like, didn't. But I imagine it's like having a bunny.
Yeah.
Wrapped up around you.
I don't think most people probably don't care about Cashmere. To be fair, I won't judge you if you're like, wow, this wasn't that life-changing.
What is Cashmere?
It's wool.
It is wool, but it's like from like super amazing sheep.
This is like food. I don't want to be too close to my food source. I don't know what it's necessarily from.
It's not baby sheep, is it? Like, that's.
If it were, I wouldn't want it. Well, actually, sheep is fine because they just shear them.
Don't have to kill them.
This is a really good point. But I don't know what it is. I don't know. Maybe it's how they process it. But
you're gonna look it up.
Yeah. What is? I mean, I guess
what I'm here for.
I should know this. Like,
so what Cashmere is a boot. What it's made out of is what's it called? Oh, It's not pretense. It's, when you're hoity-toity. Cashmere is made out of, what's the word? It's not pretense.
Oh, it's goat.
Oh.
Goat.
Cashmere is a fiber obtained from cashmere goats, pashmina goats, and some other breeds of goat.
Interesting.
This could be a good, profitable line of business.
Well, now I'm going to get a goat to have in my backyard. Is it specific?
Yeah,
types of
it's a
goats?
specific type. It's a
kind
cashmere goat.
Middle
There's
part.
a specific goat. There's a cashmere goat. There's a pashmina goat, and other breeds of goat.
That seems cool. That makes more sense.
Okay, so maybe you have a connection to goats.
Goats. That seems the most likely. Definitely.
As a child, were you around goats at all?
As a child, I wasn't really around any animals.
Really?
Turned to a sad point. No,
Oh.
I know. But maybe that's why I connect with them now. Yeah, no goats, no significant goats in my life. That's really it.
Well, I truly hope you don't have to wear cashmere anytime soon, because
I'm doing okay.
I hope you're doing good. And
Life is pretty good right now. But
so
yeah.
as we're finishing, tell me, what is the best thing going on in your life right now?
I over Christmas came out to my dad as bisexual.
Good.
And
good for you.
thank you. From my perspective, it was a garbage fire of despair. Just, not to over exaggerate, but it was horrible.
Like he wasn't supportive. He wasn't like it was.
I think it was I'm working on having I have a lot of empathy for him. It was a surprise and it was super unfamiliar. And I think you're just raised, in the culture he was raised in, it's bad, right?
Yeah.
So, and the messages he hears, I don't know that he hears, but my experience with that was not feeling like it was a good outcome or feeling loved. And so, anyway, what's the best thing in my life? It's taken, a heart-wrenching.
Because how long ago was that?
That was Christmas. And it's been like the rockiest road of just heartbreak, really, of like fighting for this relationship and then being exhausted of fighting. And like, I don't know, heartbreak on all sides. Anyway, 2 weeks ago, we were on a trip. Something that we can always connect on is doing things that are fun. That's his superpower, is he's really good at fun.
Okay.
So we have always been able to connect that way. Anyway, he was reading this book, and I was like, "Oh, what are you reading?" And he said, "Oh, it's this great book about love." And in my mind, I was like, "Oh God, okay, fuck." I'm glad I asked, but I was like, "No, okay, what? Tell me more." And his thing was the way he explained it. The premise of the book is that transactional relationships are not love. Transactional meaning, if you check this box, then I will love you.
Okay.
Or if you do this, then I will.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden there was a moment for him, that he was explaining. It's like, oh, maybe my box to check isn't everyone else's. And so he said that, and then he finished it with, and I've been learning a lot about the LGBTQ community. And I was like knocked on my ass and was like, you said those letters for real. Like you knew what it was incredible. And then he said, and I'm learning what it means to be an ally. And this is from someone who, like, this has rocked my world. But anyway, so what's the best thing in my life right now is I like have hope and excitement for mine and my dad's relationship.
See, and that's awesome. Because, yeah. I mean, and he loves you.
Yeah.
Like, more than anything.
Oh, yeah.
See, the one thing that I've always heard is when you're a parent,
mm-hmm.
and this, I'm sure your dad has done this. When you're a parent, you set expectations for your kids. Mm-hmm. You say, oh, one day my kid's going to grow up and do this, or my kid's going to grow up and be that.
Yeah.
And then what happens is you bank on that's reality. And then when reality doesn't go the way that you're banking on, now you have to react and you have to process and you have to be like, so to your dad, you come out as bisexual and your dad's like, my reality just cracked.
You're on it. Yeah.
So it's great. Like, but I do believe that most people, when they think logically and really sit down and think about the things that are important, you're his daughter.
Yeah.
He loves you.
And that was never in question too, is the hard part.
But why not support and accept and say, you're still my daughter and I still love you and nothing's changed.
But the difference is now there's curiosity.
Which is
I think
good.
that, that was like, what do you need? I just need curiosity and empathy. And, I think probably for any parent transitioning to be like, or not transitioning, but any parent with their kids just need to be like accepted. And the way you can do that is just be curious. Mm-hmm. So.
Well, and ask the questions. Like, I mean, I think one of the best things that we can do, like we talked earlier, how are you? Ask the questions.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay to ask a question. Like, it doesn't mean that you're, but ask it sincerely and ask it because you genuinely want to know the answer.
Yeah.
Not because you're just trying to fill space.
Which also means ask it intentionally. Only ask if you are ready to know.
Yeah.
Ah.
Well, I hope your stand-up career goes really well.
Thank you. I
liked the joke. I liked the thing.
Thank
you for sharing and being so open. Like, you're amazing.
Well, thanks.
Thank you.
You're the best.
That's it. You're all done.
Thank
you.
Your
hair is beautiful.
I conclude this interview with you're hired.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
I did it.
Yep, you did it. Good personality. You've got a good vibe. And I think you're going to make it. You know what? I think you have a bright future here.
I'm just not wearing goat.
If you're having a rough day, go for it. Goat for it. Oh, no. No. This doesn't represent who I am.